Hello and welcome to Water Within. My name is Carly and I'm here to talk to you today about the Taurus new moon we have coming up on Sunday, April 27th. And this new moon is occurring at 3:31 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please adjust your time according to wherever you are located on the planet. And this new moon, like all new moons, is a conjunction between the new moon and the full moon, meaning they are at the same point in the sky. They are together. And when the sun and the moon are together, we do not see the moon because the light from the sun is not reflecting. When it is in the full moon, we have it up opposite each other, so that light is being reflected by the moon. And so we have been seeing the moon continuously disappear over the last 2 weeks since our last full moon. And so this is the beginning of a new lunar cycle. And whenever we have a new moon, this is occurring at the same place that the sun is. So we are in Taurus season officially, and we are in spring. We are in the rainy season here in where I'm located. And so it's raining outside right now, or else I would be outside because the weather has been so lovely. It's been really warm and just really giving us that sense of renewal, that sense of feeling like it's safe to come out of our house. We're seeing the flowers emerging, and we are also emerging. And we had a really peculiar Aries season. We had a really peculiar start to our zodiac wheel this year, and we may have still been feeling like there was not the normal fiery, motivating Aries energy that we're used to at the beginning of the year. We might be feeling that we have been taking it slow, like we've been learning how to give ourselves permission to take it slow, to continuously be visiting the deep grief that we have put off for so long. And what I think is happening is because we just came out of Pluto in Capricorn last November, and Pluto in Capricorn was this generational archetype of work only, feelings later. And it would not only do this to itself with its own feelings, but it did that to others as well. And we were not able to fully process the feelings that we had. And Capricorn has a lot of wonderful, amazing qualities to it. But one of the things I think that we are learning about it now that we've seen the first 3 degrees of Pluto in Aquarius, because that's where it is now, is at 3 degrees, we are seeing that Capricorn was upholding a lot of the old traditional ways, and there is a lot of benefit that can come with staying with traditional ways and with honoring the ancestors and with holding on to tradition out of a way of devotion, out of a way of being, able to sustain the test of time. And then there's the Aquarius aspect, which we are seeing now, that is breaking out of anything that has been kept in place just for the sake of tradition, just for the sake of we've done it for this long, so we're going to just keep doing it. And that is really uncomfortable, first of all. Second of all, foreign to us because we've been used to doing things a certain way for so long. And we also are experiencing the deep grief that came from whatever transpired over the last 25 years of Pluto in Capricorn. And while Aquarius is not exactly a very feely sign either, we have the beginning of this year, we had the North Node move into Pisces, which is a sign that deals with grief. It deals with looking back over what has transpired because it's the last sign of the zodiac. And it's a water sign. So we are dealing with emotions. And this whole next year and a half, really at this point, it's almost half a year is done. So we've got about a year left now. And we are going to be working with that grief and figuring out how to take care of ourselves, especially in Taurus season, which Taurus is all about taking care of ourselves, taking care of our bodies, giving ourselves the permission to rest and to take it slow and to acknowledge how much work that we've done thus far, to keep working in a way that is sustainable, in a way that is wise, in a way that is simple and, working smarter and not harder type of energy. Right away, maybe this word grief is something that is, a trigger word for people, like, rightfully so. And so we could already have turned off when we hear that word here in this video. If you are someone who watches these types of videos, if you've watched any other of the, mainstream astrologers that are out there on the interwebs, you are someone who is willing to go to those places, who's willing to sit with uncomfortable truths and emotions and circumstances in order to gain the long-term spiritual growth out of it and see it as an opportunity rather than something that you want to try to escape from. And for that, I commend you, because it is very obvious in these times, especially with this new moon, that not everyone is built that way, and not everyone is willing to do the hard work that is required to fix the long-term problems that we have at present, to change the world in the way that we want to change it and want to see those changes. They're not willing to be the change that they want to see in the world. They're not willing to embody that. And that is something that I think all of us are having some trouble accepting, because, at least for me, it has been something that I've always strived to do in my life, and I never understood why that wasn't something that we were all participating in together. And I know that at the end of the day, we are all participating in it together. It just doesn't look the way I want it to look. It's not going according to my plan. And that's another thing with the Pisces North Node, is that we are letting go of our plans, because the South Node in Virgo is about letting go of structured plans, about needing to know what's coming next, about needing to have all the details, about needing to, have the schedule or the itinerary or whatever it is, the plan. We're letting go of our idea of what the plan is supposed to look like, and we are leaning into faith with Pisces about what is God's plan. And what it, if you don't want to call it God, maybe it's this plan that is divinely orchestrated. And I think at this point, we are at the point where we realize that we don't have a choice. Whether you believe it or not, whether you go willingly or not, we don't have a choice in what is transpiring. We can always control our own actions and our own role in what we're playing in this transformational period. But at the end of the day, in the long run, we have to learn how to surrender. And that's another Pisces thing, is learning how to surrender to the divine, and hopefully let that be something that allows us to lean further into our spiritual beliefs and into our spiritual practices and into a sense of faith, rather than letting it take over us and letting it become this thing that drives us into madness. And that drives us to, substance abuse and to, whatever it is. By the way, I am drinking my non-alcoholic wine. So we are feeling very indulgent when it comes to Taurus energy. There's a lot of other energies at play, but I just want to talk about Taurus for a moment because I love the sign of Taurus. I am a Scorpio stellium, so I actually have a lot of opposition in my chart to Taurus, but some of my best friends are Tauruses. My dad is a Taurus. I have always loved everything that I've heard about Taurus, and we'll start by just saying that it's ruled by Venus, and Venus is about pleasures. It's about earthly comforts. It's about the body and about being able to indulge a little bit because Venus can be indulgent. And so we just want to check ourselves wherever it is that we are indulging in things that are not good for us. I have been off of alcohol since last November, actually, when Pluto moved out of Capricorn. It was a little bit before that, but I, have been really exploring this world of non-alcoholic options, and it's just really amazing that we live in a world where those are even options at all. I know that they definitely weren't around recently. I don't know how new of a thing it is, but that is such a beautiful way of, or such a beautiful example of how the earth is changing and how our culture is changing and how we are moving away from things that inherently, I'm not here to dog everybody who's consuming alcohol. I have been there, I have done it, and at the end of the day, I think I had to realize that it was a tool for me to escape. And I'm not here to tell you how you're using it or not. I convinced myself that I wasn't escaping with it for so long as well. And I had to get really real with myself and realize that, it's been hard. And I think with that change for me, it's allowed me to finally deal with a lot of the grief that has been there for so long. And, it's right now, this energy is about turning towards our shadow. And it's about reckoning with the emotions that we have always deemed unacceptable in the eyes of social norms, in the eyes of, what we consider to be appropriate. And whether you are someone who is identifying as female or male, whether that fits into that role, whatever your gender role is, we're letting go of all of that stuff now with Pluto and Aquarius. And we are, first of all, accepting that there are more genders out there than just male and female. And then we're also realizing that it doesn't matter what you identify as, none of those gender roles have to apply to you, whether you're straight, bi, or whatever. It doesn't matter. And I think it's part of us all realizing that we are all just human beings and we all are allowed to experience the entire spectrum of human emotions. And for us to really accept that within ourselves, we first have to come to terms with the fact that that is within us instead of deny and deny and deny and say, no, that's not me. I'm not someone who feels those things. I'm not someone who cries. I'm not someone who, wants to get dirty and get wild, because that's another thing that we're dealing with right now. We have a really important aspect occurring at the time of this new moon. And I want to describe this as delicately as possible because it's a lot, and it's really easy to get caught in, buzzwords when it comes to the aspects that I'm about to explain. So I want us all to imagine this circle, which is the zodiac wheel. And when we are looking, if you have ever looked at a chart, this chart we are seeing at the time of this new moon is having a cross, just like this. Two oppositions occurring right at the same exact points. And when it happens like this, where it's a cross exactly, we're dealing with the same type of sign. And in this case, we are dealing with the fixed signs. Taurus is a fixed sign, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Leo. Those are the fixed signs of the zodiac. And we're dealing with all four elements as well. Aquarius, air; Taurus, earth; Scorpio, water; Leo, fire. And so we have the sun and the moon together here in Taurus, like I've said. And directly across, of course, is Scorpio. And we don't actually have a planet there, but we have a point which is known as Black Moon Lilith. And this is a really taboo point anyways. And it happens to be in Scorpio, which is the sign that rules over the taboo. It rules over the darkness. It rules over occult. It rules over sex. It rules over the underworld. It rules over the shadow. It rules over the dark feminine aspects. She is the dark feminine. She was known as Adam's first wife, Adam and Eve from the Bible. And she was known as rebellious because she did not submit to Adam when he told her that she was going to be subservient to him in her role as the first woman. And so she was cast out, or she just left because she didn't want to be that role. And she started to make her own way in the wilderness. And there's a lot of different stories about what happened after that. But essentially, she is this archetype of, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm not going to settle for that. I know that I'm actually worth being equal to you. And she is showing us now in this aspect, how can we rectify what has happened in our battle of equality throughout the years. And this is not just the battle of inequality of female bodies. This is the divine feminine as a energy and as something that we have all as a culture inherently been taught to reject altogether. We have been taught that our feelings are not safe to feel. We are taught that we are separate from the earth, which is the divine mother. We are taught that we can treat the waters of our earth with, we can just dump trash. We can just, dump whatever we want to, sewage into the waterways of the earth. And we can just abuse Mother Earth in general. And thus this ripple effect where women have also been abused, female bodies. And anyone who has, male, female, queer, whatever, anyone who has felt too much or been too wild has been rejected, has been, ridiculed, has been essentially abused as well in our culture. And it all comes back to the fact that we have been living in a patriarchal society, especially with Pluto and Capricorn. But I think we all can agree that we are seeing the immense changes that are coming to us now, the slow but certain changes that Pluto and Aquarius is bringing to us. And we can all do our part as individuals to lean into that feminine aspect more, especially with Taurus season being the feminine earth sign that it is. And we have the North Node in Pisces, like I said, which is literally begging us to reckon with our deep seated feelings and with our grief and with our it's asking us not to project onto others, because we have been playing victim for a long time, and it's time for us to truly realize we have always had the power to change things, and we do have the power. Aquarius is about power to the people. It's about the rebel. It's about breaking out of the boxes. It's about being authentic instead of wearing a mask in order to fit into society. And so that's the first opposition that we have, Taurus and Scorpio. Taurus is about embodying the divine feminine. Scorpio is about the other part of the divine feminine that we might not always realize is always been part of her. She's that Kali Ma energy. She is that dark feminine that is, can be filled with rage, that can be filled with sexual energy. It can be filled with that Kundalini energy, that uncontrollable, or rather, an immensely powerful and mystical force that is always within us, that just is waiting to be awakened. And it's that creative force, because when we're dealing with Scorpio, we're dealing with alchemy. We're dealing with this transformational process that something has to die in order for something new to be reborn. While we're on the subject of talking about Lilith and Scorpio, Scorpio has two ruling planets in modern astrology, Mars and Pluto. And guess what the other opposition that we have in this grand fixed cross is between Mars and Pluto? So, what we have is a reckoning, a true reckoning with the imbalance of power that we see on a collective level and that we see in an individual level as well. And where we see that what's been going on for so long has not been sustainable, and it's got to give. Enough is enough type of energy. So Pluto and Mars both deal with masculine energy. It deals with power. It deals with death. It deals with allowing something to take place in order for change to occur. We're dealing with the fixed signs, which are inherently these signs there in the middle of the season. So it's holding and sustaining something. But we're maybe being asked, where have we been holding on too tightly? Taurus is the bull, and the bull is horned. It's got horns, and we can be bullheaded when it comes to Taurus, and Taurus is known for being one of the most stubborn signs. It is the most stubborn sign. If you've ever tried to move a cow, then you would know how difficult it is to do that. If it's not willing to go on its own, it ain't moving. And, that can be a really beautiful quality about Taurus. And it also can be where it can be our downfall as well, where we are clinging on to something that's old and that is, comfortable, because Taurus loves being in its comfort zone. It loves, Venus is comfort. It loves just staying there. And, we often see cows just like lounging in a field and enjoying itself. And that's beautiful. That is the medicine of Taurus, is learning how to be where we are and just enjoy the moment and realize that we are abundant and that we do have all these earthly pleasures and we do have the earth that sustains us. But at the same time, there's an issue here where we have forgotten the feminine in all of this. We have forgotten that we need to deal with our emotions, that we need to deal with the imbalance of power, that we need to remember and respect the earth. And we need to take responsibility also. Taurus and all the earth signs deal with responsibility. Take responsibility for our actions, for what we have done, the work that we have done or the work that we haven't done up to this point, and, get real with ourselves. Taurus deals with the earth and the 3D reality. Let's get real and really look at where we are physically. And, it can deal with finances. It can deal with our career. It can deal with our relationships. It can deal with, our relationship to resting. And we can be reckoning with all of that now and see where we have been out of balance. And if you really want to know where all of this is occurring, you'll be looking at your chart and see if you have any points or planets at the first about 10 degrees of the fixed signs. And if you do, those are the points that are going to be most active and occurring, and change will be occurring for you there. And if you would like a reading with me, comment below and I will be happy to assist you with that. So coming back to Taurus, this new moon is occurring at 7 degrees of Taurus. And like I said, we have a opposition to Black Moon Lilith. It's exactly opposing, and there's a standoff occurring there, and there's a challenge being presented for us to work with and overcome. And then we have a square to Mars and Pluto, which is that other opposition that's occurring. So Mars and Pluto are opposite each other, and it's creating a square, which is another harsh aspect to the new moon. All of this is unprecedented because we have actually had 3 different times where Mars and Pluto have been activated in the past few months. The first of which was during election time, and it was right on election day, where it was probably a little bit before or after, but it was during an election day here in the US where we had a Mars-Pluto opposition. And, we can think back to those times. The other one occurred in January sometime. And we can just keep thinking back of what has been kind of creeping up to this point now. And we have maybe been in denial of where we need to change. And we maybe just have heard like in a whisper of what our intuition, because Scorpio deals with the intuition as well, a whisper of where the intuition has been telling us it's time to change. And now can be that breaking point of enough is enough. We have to do something different. And it could very well be like your body is talking to you and you've been hearing this call of a new health regime, because Taurus deals with the body and the senses. Maybe our symptoms have been becoming progressively more intense. And now it's time to really take action and do something about it. There's no more denying at this point what's going on. And so, that fixed grand cross is creating an opportunity for us to grow, to reckon with our deep, wild emotions, the deep, dark, feminine aspects of ourselves. It's asking us to really look at where we are projecting onto others and where we are not taking responsibility for our actions and for our own lives, where we are playing victim, where we are, being too stubborn, all of those things. And I will say just a few more things about where the planets are right now. We still have Venus and Saturn right at the North Node in Pisces. they're all 1 degree away. 26 degrees of Pisces for the North Node, 28 degrees for Pisces for Venus. And then we have Saturn, which actually is at 27 degrees of Pisces. So 26, 27, 28. They are right there together in Pisces. And what this could mean is a something long-term is coming to an end. Some kind of maybe long-term relationship with Venus is coming to an end. Some kind of long-term belief about our own self-worth could be finding a new revival there. Whatever it is, it's because it's on the North Node, it's asking us to deal with it, and this is the only way to move forward. And this is where the collective is also moving together. So just know whatever's happening for you, everyone is dealing with it in their own way, in their own story. I would say with this Taurus energy, a really helpful way that we could be dealing with this and alchemizing this energy is through using our voice, because Taurus rules the throat chakra. It could be maybe there's like some dental work that needs done. I know that sounds kind of random, but our voice our teeth are directly related to our nervous system. And when we take care of our teeth, we actually are creating a lot more space in our brain as well. And I don't know that much about the connection, but I know that that is a thing. The more that we can take care of our teeth, the more space we actually are creating in our mind as well. And I've been hearing a lot of people talking about going to the dentist lately, and I'm just like, yeah, sure, that's perfect timing. And I also know that singing is something, whether it's singing in a way that you think is good or not, it doesn't matter. Everyone has a voice that is allowed to be heard, and you can give yourself that permission to be heard regardless of how it sounds. Maybe you don't need to show it to anybody else. Maybe it's just for you, and it's a way for you to remove any blockages from your throat chakra. The other thing could be with the Taurus energy, we could be dealing with just like I said, any sort of bodily issues and figuring out that mind-body connection and being able to actually hear the messages that our bodies are telling us. Maybe it's dealing with eating and how we eat food, because Venus can be very indulgent and Taurus can be very overindulgent. So maybe we've had some like imbalances around like our eating habits. Obviously, the first part of eating is dealing with the mouth as well. So that's Taurus too. Maybe whatever issues we've been having and symptoms we've been having, changing your diet and changing the way you relate to food could be the solution for you. I know for me, I'm always going to encourage people to, consume living foods rather than foods that are dead or processed foods or anything like that. I think we're moving into a reality where people are going to start waking up to the energy that is in the food rather than just looking at, what we've been told because of the food pyramid, what we've been told because of society, what we've been told because of cultural norms, if it's manly or not to eat meat or whatever. Especially when we had that Mars and Cancer stay for the last freaking 6 months, whatever it was, since September on and off. With Mars and Cancer, we have been, the divine masculine within all of us has been going through a rebirth. And it has been really, it's been getting real with what do we deem as a man? Like, what has society decided this is what a man is like? And can we realize that that has become very toxic, and it has, showed up in our government rulers and in the way that we normalize people just taking over and dominating and taking whatever they want from beings that are smaller and more vulnerable than them. We see that in people, and we see that in our relationship to the animals. And I think we're really coming out of all of that, and we're going to start to see the value in everyone and in everything, and realize that no matter what our differences are, whether it's human or non-human animals, whether it's, your same group of people that you descend from, your ethnicity or your social groups or your gender or whatever it is, all of these lines are blurring now for a good reason, because we have had so much toxicity around feeling separate from the other, feeling like we have some sort of authority over somebody else just because of who they are or what they are. And I think at the end of the day, yeah, this is just going to be a really long-term change, but a change nonetheless towards realizing that we all are here together on this earth. We all have equal right to live full lives that are quality. We all have the right to be free and not live in a cage and not have to, work. Actually, I think that's going to be something that we all finally are able to liberate ourselves from, is like working jobs that we know we don't want to work and finding our soul passion, and allowing that to be a source instead of, we're just working a job to get by. We're just surviving. And we're thriving instead of surviving now, once we finally are free from being able to, or the constructs that have held us down for so long, the cultural norms. We can rewrite the whole script, and we can truly give ourselves the permission to even imagine that that's possible. Pisces also deals with the imagination. Can we imagine what our dream life would look like if there were no more restrictions? Saturn and Pisces. Saturn is restrictions. Pisces is no restrictions. And Saturn is the government. Pisces is this ideal. And so we have this opportunity now to reframe what it is that we want our government to look like, what we want our world to look like, and what we want our individual life to look like. And if we have not been taking physical and conscious steps towards that, now we're going to have this point during this new moon, I believe, where we can't not take that action anymore. We are there, and unfortunately, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what we decide, because like I said, it's not going to go according to our plan. Pluto is this force that will drag you into the transformation, whether you like it or not. We all have maybe heard the story of Hades and Persephone. He drug her ass down to the underworld. And she, at the end of the story, it's really kind of aggressive and horrible and toxic at the beginning, where he drags her down to make her become his queen. But at the end of the story and in these other stories, you see that Persephone actually is transformed by Hades, and who is Pluto. And she becomes this goddess of the underworld. She becomes the queen of the underworld. And when she was up there on Earth with her mother, Ceres, or uh, what's her other name? It's escaping me right now. Yeah, she was just this maiden that was like still clinging to mom, and she was this like, disempowered version of herself, and she had to go through that transformation in order to truly come into who she was meant to be. Persephone, queen of the underworld. And that sounds dark and gross and weird to maybe some, but like what the underworld actually represents is that part of ourselves that we do hide away from the world because it hasn't been safe for us to show. And I think, there's no more denying what is underneath the surface anymore. There's no more faking it. There's a sense of needing to be authentic. For me, in my life, I'll just share that it has felt like I have really come to terms with how much of myself has been repressed and pushed down and denied in order for me to survive in this world. And I'm sure that all of us can relate to that in some way or form, maybe not to the same circumstance or intensity, but I think that's ultimately what's going on. And if you have felt those rumblings, maybe there's an outlash that is coming. Maybe you are needing to go to those places. Maybe you need to go scream on the mountaintop. Maybe you need to punch your pillow and really have a temper tantrum about it. Hopefully we are not, like I said, projecting onto others, and we, are fiercely protecting ourselves in whatever way we need to. Black Moon Lilith, she didn't take no shit. Venus is in Pallas Athena, or is Pallas Athena right now in her morning star phase. And she ain't taking no shit either. She is the war goddess. She's not Aphrodite. She is the war goddess. She is an expert strategist. She does not lose. And she doesn't take any prisoners. And this is not about war. And this is not about, taking what's ours and dominating anymore. We're not doing that anymore. What we're doing is bringing things back into balance and working from a place of integrity, to bring justice to what has been out of balance for so long. And, we are warriors of the divine feminine, whether you, like I said, regardless of your gender. We are warriors of bringing balance back into this world that has been overly masculinated. All of us have had to become overly masculinated to survive. And now it's this time where the pendulum swings the other way. And I am so grateful to be here with everyone. If you watch this to the end, please like and subscribe if you felt this resonated with you, and please send this to someone if you feel like there's someone out there that who would benefit from this message. So I'm going to draw a card for us. I'm dealing with our Crystal Oracle deck today. Thought that was very fitting because Taurus is the earth, and the crystals actually, that's the thing with the underworld, is like crystals, you can't get to the crystals unless you go underneath the surface. You can't find the buried treasure if you stay above ground and you don't go deep into the darkness. So we're going to pull a card from my Crystal Oracle. We're going to see what the cards have to say about this Taurus new moon. I really could go on and on about this more and more, but I'm going to leave it at what I have said and trust that the message has come through. And I am going to trust that the card that comes through now is for the highest good of all. Oh, my favorite. We got the Moonstone. And that is really beautiful. It's one of my favorite stones. Very obvious that it deals with the moon. It right off the bat, I know it deals with, your intuition, what happens in the dark, bringing the darkness to light. Where are you? Here we are. The moon is dealing with the feminine. So let's dive in. The Moonstone. Themes of fertility, reflection, intuition, imagination, goddess energy, amplified feelings. This deck don't quit, though. It don't miss. Sorry, either way. All right, it says, during the appearance of the next full moon, your emotions and fears will be amplified, and you will at times think you're going crazy. However, keep your calm, for this condition will only last a few days. During this time, you will find yourself reflecting on your life, both past and present. You will gain a deep insight as to the nature of true happiness and begin to reassess your priorities. After the full moon, a fertile period begins in your life, full of many exciting challenges and changes. Many new rewarding friendships will be formed as you embark on the new and creative ventures. This is all a result of the reflective light of the moon, so give thanks to her for her wisdom. Embrace the blessings coming your way. So yeah, it really could be a crisis point for us, and it could be an existential crisis. Like I said, do not let the chaos turn to madness with Pisces. Let this chaos be an opportunity for us to find a deeper sense of faith. If you believe that the universe is this force that is always working with you and conspiring with you to give you everything that you want, then you will believe that and you will have that. What is your belief about it though? Like, really get real with yourself. What is the type of universe that you exist in? Is it a universe where you're always the victim and things are always happening to you and not for you? That's the fine line that we're walking right here, right now. And it's game time. It's time to really get that straight. And like I said, reassess our priorities. Because right now, what we prioritize as a culture is money and wealth. And I'm not saying money's bad. Money is a tool. It's like the force, you can use it for good or bad. But celebrities going to space, presidents chopping down our national forests, deporting people and then backtracking on deporting people. I don't have to say what's going on. We all know what's going on, or at least I hope we all have some awareness around what's going on and about how up everything is right now. So, all right, I'm going to draw a rune for us, and then we are going to end this video so that we can get to the work. Okay, so it's an X. Let me see. Yeah, there it is, right in front. Gebo. Generosity, gift, and spear. Yeah, this challenge that we're being presented with is a gift in disguise. It will be sharp. It is sharp. Mars deals with weapons and deals with penetration, penetrative energy, masculine energy. And so it's going to pierce through something, perhaps an illusion with the Pisces energy, because Pisces rules illusions. It's going to burst your bubble around what has to change. And I truly hope we can all deal with that in the best way that we can, because this is still, maybe a very reactive. Mars now in Leo is like, it can be really impulsive, and it can be very risky. It can take unnecessary risks. But if we are able to get quiet, like Taurus is asking us to, then we can take the calculated move, and we can tap in with source, and we can tap in with our own intuition, essentially the same thing, and say, okay, what is the next move? Take it one step at a time. Like I said, we are not going to know the whole plan. We are maybe slowly going to build the plan one step at a time, but that faith is going to get us through into the unknown. Pluto in Aquarius is like, let's go out into space, metaphorically and physically, but let's go out into the unknown, into the new frontier of where humanity is going. I think the space stuff is part of the story, but what we're doing is, it's got these like, unsustainable qualities to it. So we have to figure out how to like reform all that and give ourselves the permission to go into new frontiers. But I think at first before we go out to space, we need to deal with what's happening here. Instead of just be like, okay, well, we're just gonna go to a different planet instead, or like, escape. Essentially, like, going to space the way people are going is another reflection of the toxic Pisces energy, where it's escapism. And it's like, we'll just go away and we'll just ignore the problem, and we'll just, use this as a distraction instead of dealing with the issue, doing the work. And I get it. It's difficult to do the work. And like I said at the beginning, not everyone is built, and not everybody chose to do this work in their soul contract. So let's figure out how to accept all that's going on, to still be happy and enjoy the simple pleasures. That's essentially the Taurus energy. To give ourselves that permission to rest when we need to rest, when our bodies are screaming at us to tell us to rest and to change something. I really just hope everybody is well, and we can continue to be part of the change that is occurring, and keep moving through these cycles together, and come together around the fact that we are not alone in these challenges. And I will see you guys again in 2 weeks. That full moon that they're talking about in the Moonstone card, yeah, that's in Scorpio. So we'll see you in 2 weeks for the full moon in Scorpio.